President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and I'd like to hand the floor to the defense team. However, before that, I have two observations to make. First, it is necessary that the counsel corporate made a request to have some more time to question this witness, and many issues emerge from the questioning of this witness by counsel corporate, and for that reason I'd like to inquire from both defense teams how much time each team needs to question this witness. First, the floor is given to counsel corporate.
Well, I was hoping, I'm looking at my colleague Anta Gise, she would be needing 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and if I could have the remaining 20 minutes, then I think...
There's no request for additional time. Good.
Well, of course, I don't want to bring bad news. Everything is going to depend on the way the witness is going to answer my questions. That's all. I simply want you to be open to the possibility that there might be possibly need for extra time.
And in fact, Judge Lavange also would like to put some questions to this witness, and for that reason I give the floor first to Judge Lavange.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to try to be as concise as possible. Witness, based on your testimony, I understood that you own a relatively high number of documents coming from S21. Can you describe those documents? What kind of documents are these? Are these negatives? Are these prints? Are these recent prints, or are these prints that were made later? So I will have further questions, but please can you describe the documents that you have?
Thank you, Your Honor, for asking me the question. The documents that I have read me are the following. One, my notebook of my study in China. Second, the photos, the real photos that I took and collected. And third, a number of cameras that I use at S21. However, I do not have any negatives with me. I only have photos and the documents that I mentioned.
Where are these documents stored? Where are these documents? I understood that some of these documents are in Phnom Penh, and maybe some are in Siem Reap, and maybe some are in An Long Veng, or elsewhere. I didn't quite understand. So could you please tell us exactly where these documents are located?
The documents are stored at my house in Siem Reap. I am building my own office in Siem Reap.
Fine. And by documents, we mean essentially photographs. You said that there are photographs. There's also a notebook, but essentially we're speaking about photographs. Am I correct?
There are photographs, and I also have thousands of Khmer Rouge songs. I also have relevant documents. In fact, Nham Ain wants to testify before the court, and I can provide further information to the court if required.
Can you be a bit more specific about that? When you say that you have other documents, what do you mean? I understood that there were photographs, and now you're speaking about songs, and you also say that you have other documents. What other kinds of documents are these?
Est-ce que ce sont des comptes rendus?
Are we speaking about reports, minutes of meetings? What are we speaking about exactly?
I do not have any minutes of meetings. I might have voices of a Pol Pot and videos of meetings, videos of Tamok, for instance, although I do not have many, but I have quite a collection.
Can you give us an idea of what this represents in terms of quantity? Do you have an idea of the number of photographs in your collection?
For photographs, I have a bit over 1,000 photographs, and I have about 500 Khmer Rouge songs, and I have video cassettes of Tamok and Pol Pot's meetings, as well as the cameras. I have several cameras. And I have gathered documents related to the Khmer Rouge regime as well.
Did you draw up a catalog of the different documents or objects you have in your collection? Do you have a list with the description of each one of these elements, of each photo, of each document?
Although I don't make a catalog, but I recall about 80% of all those items, since I'm planning to open a museum of my own in Siem Reap.
Now, regarding these photographs in particular, are these photos that you made yourself, or are these photos that were taken by other people?
%80 of those photos were taken by me, and the other 20% were the work of my other colleagues.
Well, I have another question regarding the way you came to own these documents. If I understood you correctly, you said earlier that when you left Phnom Penh in 1979, you left without anything. So, when did you manage to obtain these documents, and how were these documents stored?
បាទលោកចាស់
After the national reintegration in Onlong Veng in 1997 and 98, I stored those documents, and after Pol Pot passed away, I went to his house and I gathered some of those photos from that regime. While I worked for the army, the DK army actually collected some documents, some of those photos as well, that I believe that they may be of good use for the future court.
Can you be a bit more specific about that? You said that you managed to retrieve certain photographs, but from whom? And under which circumstances? And how did these people from whom you retrieved these photographs manage to store these photographs? Do you have any details on this chain of custody, we could say, of these photos?
President, witness, please observe the microphone. Witness. Allow me to clarify. First, those photographs were taken by me. Secondly, I retrieved some photos from Pol Pot's house after he passed away. Third, I retrieved some photos from military commanders, Mon and Aten, for example. They gave me those photographs, and for that reason I have in my possession some photos, videos and cameras, and I received them from those military commanders of the regime.
You also explained that you had buried certain objects. Can you be a bit more specific about what you buried, where, and when did you retrieve these objects? Because I understood that you did not go back to Phnom Penh for quite a while because you were still a combatant.
It's a long story. In 1982 and 83, I resumed my photography work, and I took photographs at the battlefields to the east part of Tonle Sap. And in 1993, after the tri-party negotiation, there is some Daciano, Sun San and Khieu Sampon, and the government. I returned in 1990, and I went to the place where I hid the objects, and the owner was not aware of where I hid those objects. I even retrieved some gold, and I could retrieve some cameras. However, I could not retrieve the main cameras like the 8mm machine, and those objects were hidden along under the coconut trees, that is, those trees grow in front of the Tool Slang Museum compound. And that happened in 1990 when I returned to Phnom Penh. At that time, Khieu Sampon, along with the tri-parties, held a convention in Paris for the negotiation.
S'agissant de ces
Now, regarding these photos or regarding these audio documents, do you know if there are copies? And if there are copies that are in collections accessible to the public, or are you the only person owning these photographs as well as these audio video documents?
et préciser aussi ma question.
And maybe to be more specific, did you show to the investigators who questioned you these documents?
Sometimes I show some documents to the investigators or the judges, and I didn't dare to risk to present those documents to other entities, including the DC camp. I still have 19 video cameras with me, and they were given to me by Tam Mok and Pol Pot. I am in love with all these equipments, although some of them do not function. However, they have historical value for me.
Bien,
Fine. Now I would like to discuss another topic. When you were working at S21, from whom would you receive your orders? Did you receive orders only from Duke, or did you also receive orders from other leaders?
Of course, I cannot forget about that. As I have stated, in order, I first received it from Son Sen, Minister of National Defense. Second, His Excellency Nat. And the third was Dutch. And within Tuslai prison, the orders I received from Dutch were mainly to do with taking photographs. And as I said, I have my own squad, and we had a manual operated phone in our office, and usually when the phone rang we would assign someone to take photograph.
For example, when you were asked to escort a delegation to take photos, for example, when you would go visit dams that were being built or construction sites, or when you were going to cooperatives, who gave you the order to go with the delegation and to take pictures? Was it Duke or other people?
The orders only came from Son Sen and Nat while I was at the Tuslai prison. As for Dutch, as I said, his orders were only to do with the photography work at the Tuslai Center itself, and I was one of the 6 photographers in Tuslai. And sometimes we rotated ourselves to accompany the delegation on their field trip.
And when you would travel with these delegations, would you only take pictures, or from time to time did you shoot documentary films?
It is a rather complicated matter. In fact, we took still photos as well as we shot documentary films. It was the 18 we could only use 16 or 35 millimeter films, and the process would last for from 2 to 3 months, as we had to montage them before a final product could be shown. And I was pretty proud with the products that we produced at the time.
Je pense que
I believe that the parties remember a certain number of documentaries regarding the building of dams, in particular, documentaries in which we can see workers building the dams. So you yourself, did you film such documentaries where we see workers building dams?
Yes, that is correct. In fact, I have many other colleagues, namely Yen, Liang, and in fact we still had some technicians from the previous colonial regime. And in Phnom Penh there were Phnom Penh, Chen La and Loche theaters. I conducted the research at those theaters, and we found surviving technicians. And there were also 1 or 2 technicians from China who assisted us and provided us with technical support how to shoot the films. And actually the films could not be edited in Phnom Penh, but they were edited in Beijing in China, as we did not have the facility to do so in Phnom Penh.
Well, let me maybe repeat my question so that you can really answer it precisely. You personally, did you film such documentaries in which we see workers building dams? You yourself, were you the one behind the camera shooting those films?
Yes, I did. For example, the 1st January Dam, the 30 September Dam, and the Trapiantmo Dam. As for the North Zone and the West Zone, I went to take films and photos at those dams rather frequently, but I did not make any frequent trip to the east or the northeast zones.
And do you remember if orders were given to the workers? Were the workers told, for example, to run in order to give the impression that they were working hastily? Or were the workers ordered to not appear in the frame? Were they orders of that kind that were given to the workers?
Regarding shooting the film, usually we had to be very careful, and we had to be careful with the framing and the background. I, for example, filmed from Kabal Canal area along through Chang Rai Le and through Ta Khmau. And of course, usually when we shot or filmed, we only shot good frames in order to attract the viewers.
So can we say that you would receive instructions in order to show a positive image of what Angkar was accomplishing?
You can say that is correct. Of course, if we shot bad image, then it would have an impact on the nation.
And did you ever hear about a trip that was made by a team of Yugoslav journalists who had also made a documentary? Did you ever hear of that trip?
Not only I heard about it, I saw them as well when they went on their field trip to Kampong Cham area. There was this Yugoslav delegation, Romanian delegation, for example.
Et est-ce que
And do you know if the screening of that documentary made by the Yugoslav team gave way to any reactions in Phnom Penh? Were these films enjoyed? Or on the contrary, did this create problems?
That is the responsibility of a journalist. From I knew at the time from the communist bloc, including Yugoslavia, Romania. They came to Cambodia and they were warmly welcomed by Pol Pot and the dignitaries. Most of the communist countries who came to Cambodia were warmly welcomed. I did not see any reaction to any documentary film showing. If there were any private reaction, I would not know, but there were no public reactions to any filming. And of course, there were only very handful of embassies in Cambodia during the decay regime.
It appears that at S21 a certain number of prisoners had their confessions recorded, and then later these recordings were broadcast on the radio. So do you know who was in charge of recording these S21 confessions?
Of course, I cannot forget that. There was a group of interrogators, the three, for example, Chain, who was with the Dutch, and actually Dutch had about 10 record players. Then the voice from the prisoner was recorded and broadcast. In particular, those Vietnamese soldiers who were arrested, their voice will be recorded and translated by Chan and broadcast. And the purpose was to show that Vietnamese troops actually fought and invaded Cambodian territory, and they were operated by those who actually involved in the interrogation itself, and that is the truth.
So the photographers were not involved in the audio recordings, only the interrogators. Did I understand you properly?
Yes, that is correct. We had separate responsibilities and we could not interfere with the responsibilities of other workers.
Now I would like to discuss another topic. Among the S21 photos on the case file, we have a certain number of photos of bodies. And in fact, you were questioned about these photos. Can you tell us who would give the orders to take such photos? And was this something that happened often?
Allow me to make my response. Prisoners who died in Deutschland, they died as a result of heavy torture by interrogators or of the beating by guards. Second, after prisoners were photographed, important prisoners were taken away and killed. And sometimes prisoners had their throat slashed, and only one photographer, 3, was assigned to take such a photography. 3 himself was also a guard. 90% of the prisoners who had their throats slashed and photographed were important prisoners. And those prisoners would be sent to Son Sen, and Son Sen would forward them to Pol Pot, as they wanted confirmation whether those prisoners had been killed. Unfortunately, 3 was later executed. In another instance, Medic Pao was actually killed and the gallbladder was removed.
Donc, vous nous dites que
So, what you're telling us is that photographs were taken by 3. Were those photographs taken only at S21 or 3 went to other execution sites, such as Choing Ek, for example?
I could not make a conclusion on that. I could say that the photos that they brought could be, some of them could be from Chiang Mai. Although I could not know the details, many prisoners were killed at the back road along the Bang Keng Kong area, and many trees in the area were dead. And after the area was full, the prisoners were then taken and killed at Bang Chiang Ai, although at the time I was not aware of that. And only in 1995, that is after the reintegration, I went to see the area.
voilà, je suis pas sûr d'avoir très bien.
I am not quite sure I understood the interpretation, but if I understood you correctly, you said that you didn't go to Choing Ek before 1995. Is that indeed what you stated?
In 1995, I can recall that, in November 1995, I joined with the government, and from that time onward, I told the story in the Cambodia the time, and people were realized that truckloads of prisoners were sent to Chiang Ai to be killed. The first time when I saw the dead bodies or the remains at Chiang Ai was in November 1995.
Vous est-il arrivé de
Did you happen to observe that truckloads of prisoners arrived at S21 and that subsequently the prisoners were led to execution sites directly without their photographs having been taken?
Your Honor, many cases happened. Sometimes there were arrests, intensified arrests, those who were arrested at the Kampong Chnang airport and the east were also sent to that location. I did not take the photos, but I knew that they were sent to that location and killed. Sometime I saw truckloads went past.
Donc, pour essayer de clarifier, vous voyez des camions de...
I wanted to clarify something. You saw truckloads of persons, and those trucks stopped and they were sent to S21 and immediately sent to Kampong Chnang and on the airport construction site for execution. Is that what you stated?
Your Honor, those people were taken from Kampong Chnang to S21, not the opposite. And people from Sector 5 in the northwest zone and also people from the east zone, most of them were soldiers, were sent into S21.
Donc, il y avait des personnes qui venaient...
So there were persons from Kampong Chnang and other places led to S21. And those persons' photographs were not taken. Is that what you're saying? And that happened during periods of intense arrests. Is that your testimony? That is true, Your Honor. Mass arrests happened in 1977. Some of them were photographs, but some other were not.
J'ai compris aussi que...
I have also understood that among your activities, other than those of a photograph, you are a photographer, you are also a messenger. I would like to know for how long you worked as a messenger and to whom you delivered messages. Was it to Pol Pot, to Son Sen, to Tamok, to Nonchia, or to anyone else? I will have to take much time to elaborate on the issue. One prison was established back then in Tak Mau, the psychiatric hospital. I delivered messages from Tak Mau, and at the time I was on bicycle and I arrived at Po 98 hospital close to Moniwong. It has something to do with the King family members, and some of the King family members were killed at that location. It is sure they were killed there. I was a messenger. I was on a bicycle. I did not dare to open the envelope and read the messages. Some pilots, some former civil officers were killed. The psychiatric hospital at Tak Mau near Kraperha was established, was turned into the prison. And there were 2 times that I brought 2 messages or 2 letters to Sun Sen, and at the time he was on a vehicle where I delivered the 2 letters to him.
Lorsque vous étiez à l'hôpital...
While you were at the Tak Mau Psychiatric Hospital, you were a messenger. Is that period prior to your departure to China or after your return from China? Your Honor,
It was before I went to China. It was in the period of October and December. At the time, I was in the technical training and I was also a messenger. About 3,000 children together with the soldiers, so totaling 5,000 of them attended the trainings. Soldiers from Navy, soldiers from infantry, and from other sectors were sent to join the training because of the lack of human resources. At the time, I was hardworking and I was well prepared for the reason I was sent to China. It was my habit and it has been my habit. Angka liked the people who were well prepared. I am not tell pride to you, but I am proud of myself.
J'ai compris qu'à l'hôpital,
I have understood that at the Takmao Psychiatric Hospital, a number of executions were carried out. And if I understood correctly, you talked of officials of the Lon Nol government who were executed there. Was it a significant number of persons who were executed there? And was there a policy regarding the executions of former officials and soldiers of the Lon Nol Republic or the Khmer Republic?
I would like to tell Mr. President, Your Honors, everyone here, I witnessed that in the library close to Sa Tmai, the order was from Sun Sen. Mr. President, Your Honors, you know what they did? Books were collected and put onto 5 GMC trucks. The documents were related to the former Lon Nol civilians. The arrest did happen in 1975. Those documents were collected from the library and names were noted down and afterward, and people were arrested afterward. Colonel, captains, and other high-ranking officers were killed. King family's members were also killed, and it is very difficult to identify the skeletal remains of the King family members. Only the American states can do so. I could see at the time that 5 truckloads of people were taken away and killed.
donc, vous me dites si j'ai bien compris ce que...
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that at the library of the Takmao Psychiatric Hospital, they had assembled documents containing lists of officials or soldiers who were subsequently arrested. Did I properly understand your testimony?
That is correct, what you understand. The Khmer Rouge was good at identifying people and searching for people. So 5 truckloads of documents and people were sent away and killed. For this reason, the former Lon Nol officials died. President interrupts. Which library are you referring to? The library which was located at Sa Tmai or the library located at the psychiatric hospital in Takmao? Which one are you referring to? Witness. I cannot forget it. That looked that library was located close to the post office, the main post office in town. All documents were kept in the archive over there. 5 truckloads of documents were taken away, and based on those documents, the former Lone Nol soldiers and officials were arrested and killed.
Est-ce que vous vous souvenez exactement à quelle date?
Do you recall exactly when you witnessed those events? When did you hear of those executions? Unless you witnessed those executions with your own eyes, and if not, when did those executions occur?
Your Honor, could you repeat your question? It is not clear to me.
Je vais poser plusieurs questions.
I asked several questions. On what date did you observe that those documents had been assembled in those libraries, that is, documents regarding the list of officials and soldiers?
It was in December 1975 or in November. I witnessed that the Khmer Rouge wanted to search for the pilots, the former pilots, and also those who were at Kampong Chnam. Those people were sent away and killed. I did not overhear it. I saw it by myself, and people were sent to Tak Mau prison, which was the former psychiatric hospital.
Et avez-vous vous-même été témoin
Did you yourself witness with your own eyes executions? Did you witness scenes of executions with your own eyes?
Let me backtrack a little bit. Everyone had their own responsibility. Everyone only minded their businesses. So I was the photographer. I was in charge of photographing people, and they had different roles to play.
Je vais également revenir un petit peu en arrière.
I would like to backtrack a little and talk about photographs of bodies. Did you yourself develop negatives of bodies? You said that it was 3 who took the photographs, but did you yourself develop them?
In relation to the issue, Sri was trained by me how to take photographs. It took me 5 days to teach and train the Sri how to use the light from the camera and how to quick shoot the picture. And I told Sri at the time that he did not need much time to learn how to take photo. And during the time, I was the one who developed the negatives in the dark room. And at the time, after I developed the negatives, I could see that many people were killed. High-ranking officials were killed and their throats were slashed. And usually the people at Tuos Lang who had their throats slashed held mostly the rank of mostly were part of the regiment upward.
est-ce que vous vous souvenez de certains...
Do you recall certain high-ranking officials in the Democratic Kampuchea regime whose photographs were taken? Do you have any names that come to mind?
Your Honors, Hunam and other high-ranking cadres, for example, Takun, most of them were not, their photos were not taken by me. Three usually did the job. There were special prisons for those people in the building inside that compound, and that was the special prison for those people, for the special people. Those who were from sector and district committees were detained and imprisoned at that special prison. Hunam was in that center. Hunam was also in. The Khmer Rouge had their special forces to be in charge of that task.
Et donc, vous vous souvenez avoir vu une photo...
So, do you remember seeing a photograph of Hunim's body?
Vous répondez juste par oui et non.
You can answer with a simple yes or no.
I did not witness myself the dead bodies of those people, but I saw the photos that they were detained, and I myself, I am not aware where those people were killed. Sri was part of the battalion when he was at Tuol Sleng. Let me clarify. At the end, Sri was also killed. I do not know. That may have been a double cross.
Bien, juste pour que ce soit parfaitement clair.
That is why I did something to him.
Cadavre de Hunim.
Very well, to be very clear, did you see photographs of Hunim's body?
No, Your Honor, I have never seen the photos of the dead body of Hunam, President. The question is about the photo of the deceased Hunam, which you said he was the high-ranking official. It is not about the dead body. The photo, have you ever seen the photo of the deceased Hunam? Witness, let me make a clarification. Three took photos. Sometimes those or ankles were thin, and I could not recognize well them. After they were in the prison for a period of 2 or 3 months, they became emaciated. For Koi Thuon, he refused to eat. 90% of them, after in the prison, got thinner. And as I told you, those who had their throats slashed were of high-ranking cadres, President Israel. If you could not recognize the meanings that you have not seen them, the photos, I mean. Have you seen the photos of the dead body of those people? Answer. I saw negatives which I developed. The dead body themselves, the physical dead bodies were not seen by me.
Bien. Avez-vous...
Very well. Did you develop negatives of photographs of Hunim and Koi Thuon, for instance?
I told you earlier, I developed the negatives of films. And there is a question where those photos were taken to after they were developed. Those photos were sent to Deutsch, and I produced 2 photos for 1 negative. President interrupt. Please respond to the limit of the question. Please do not expand beyond the question put to you. I have kept reminding you since the morning about that. Have you ever seen negatives which depict the dead body of Hunam and also Koitun? This is the question. 2 individuals. Have you seen the photo of them, of the dead bodies of Koitun and Hunam? Now it is about the negatives that you develop. Have you seen those 2 negatives of dead body of Koitun and Hunam? So if you answer precisely, then we can understand you. You cannot just say you guess the negatives that you develop of Koitun and Hunam. Witness, let me tell you again, Your Honors. I developed the negatives and the photos, the people in the photos were seen, and it looked different from the people who used to be considered those high senior ranking officers. President interrupts. So you have to answer precisely whether you have seen with your own eyes or you do not recognize them. Please.
Parce que
Could you please repeat your answer, the answer to the last question put to you by the President, because we didn't hear the answer. Did you recognize that person as Hunim or Koitun, or you simply saw photographs of persons who were extremely emaciated, but you didn't know who those persons were?
What you said is true.
oui, mais il y a 2 options.
But there are 2 options. Either you saw negatives of photographs of persons you recognized as being Koitun and Hunim, or what you saw were photographs of persons who were extremely emaciated, and you did not recognize who the persons were. What is the option you are choosing? Did you recognize those photographs as being those of Koitun's or Hunim's bodies?
In short, after I developed the negatives, I did not recognize them. And those people were shot because they were of important people. And those people were too emaciated. I mean, the people in the photo.
Alors, est-ce qu'on vous a dit?
Now, if you could not recognize them, did someone tell you subsequently whether it was Hunim or Koitun? And if that is the case, who told you so? Or is it a mere assumption on your part?
Your Honor, those who had their throats slashed were taken from the special prisons, and as I told you, I did not recognize them because they were already dead in the photos. Their throats had been slashed. About 100 of them had their throats slashed within Tuas Line compound.
A last question, witness. You said, if I understood you well, that Pol Pot and maybe other people wished to obtain these photographs to be sure that these people had indeed died. So is that what you said? And if that's the case, where did you get that information from? Is that something that was told to you, or you yourself? Did you go provide these pictures to Pol Pot or to other people?
Something strange in the photo. The strange is that two photos were asked to develop from one negative, one for Tapong and another one for Tan Nguyen. And if those photos were sent to the two individuals, then they would be forwarded to Son Sen. So as I said, the strange thing is that the two photos were I was asked to develop two photos from one negative. This is true what I did at the time.
Et comment?
And how did you get to know that these photos were sent to Son Sen? Were you the one bringing these photos to Son Sen, or did you know who brought these photos to Son Sen, or were you told who did that? Were you told what was going on?
The Dutch owned two houses. The one house was in front of the Ministry of Planning, and there was another house of Dutch. Two houses were merged into were merged together, and Nguyen went to Dutch house, the second house, to see Dutch. And the time usually they address each other by brother or bong. So Tapong and Tan Nguyen got the photos from me, and they would send the photos to them to the upper level.
Donc,
so to make sure that I understood you well, they were messengers who would come see you to request these photographs and who would then bring them to other people. Is that what happened? And if that is the case, were you told to whom these pictures were being given?
My house was not far from Tadoch's house. It was about 100 or 200 meters apart. It seems I backtracked what I want to tell you. Tan Nguyen and Pang were close associates to Son Sen. The two individuals got the photos from me, so who else would they send the photo to? It is sure that they may have sent them to Son Sen. President interrupts. Please, I told you, I have repeatedly told you to answer to the limit of the question. Please do not draw a conclusion, or please do not make an assumption. It is a waste of time for the chamber. The chamber will not use or base the assumption, your assumption or conclusion ask the evidence to decide. So please bear in mind what you answer. It is now time for the adjournment. And the hearing will continue tomorrow, Thursday, 21st April 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the Chamber will continue hearing the testimony of 2 TCW 919, and then we'll proceed to hear 2 TCW 865, and the chamber, and if the chamber has time, it will proceed to hear 898 as well. Mr. Witness, the hearing of your testimony has not come to a conclusion yet. You are therefore invited to be here once again tomorrow. Court officer, please work with the vessel to send this witness together with the reserve witness back to the place where they are staying at the moment, and please invite them into the courtrooms tomorrow once again. Security personnel are instructed to bring Noon Chi and Kim Sampon back to the ECCC's detention facility and have them returned into the courtroom before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.